Blessings, 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 blessings. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to 4D Trinity. I am Tuesday May Thomas, and this is our, I was almost going to say weekly tarot energy forecast. No, this is our weekly live stream called 4D Trinity, where we bridge fourth dimensional consciousness, that is the consciousness that is attuned and aligned with you always as your higher self, the wisdom, the yogi, the inner shaman, the inner alchemist, the highest light that you are always. We illumine that here through understanding and creating union and connection between mind, body, and emotions. Here I teach that your spirit is unfuckable. Your spirit is always one. It is always one with God, with love, with light, with all of those divine aspects, whatever name you give it. And all we're doing is we're remembering, we're putting the pieces back together that we can simply create the correct conditions to remember, to restore that awareness that all is well in all of creation, as Adamus, one of my favorite teachers, says, and that also this world can transcend from 3D, from binary, what we call here as the binary 3D system of living life in the loom of love versus fear. We learn to bridge heaven on earth, heaven realization, heaven on earth realization being fourth dimensional consciousness, that being related to the heart chakra. If we think about levels of consciousness in alignment with the chakras, and we think about 3D relating to the third chakra, 4D relating to the heart center, and how everything changes once your pilot light at the heart center turns on, once you start to turn on to greater love and greater light. And as we're speaking about in our weekly tarot forecast this week, such a powerful reading, all about us really becoming an awakened magician, an ascended magician, and using the magician's alchemy, learning through the practice of self-love, alchemating our pain of the past, alchemating those old outmoded ways of thinking, which is where we're going today with just understanding in part one of this non-duality realm, and surpassing that and moving into a place where love and only love resides. And there's a few corners to turn until we get there, or en route, and it's all good. I'm just here to allow an offering of information, and you're welcome to take what you'd like from it. And before we begin, I want to say thank you to all of the new subscribers. I'm so very grateful for all the ways that everyone shows their support, their love. I do have a monthly love letter I send out from my website. All of my info is in the description box below, so please make sure you have a little look if you're interested. I have books, a couple of free mini books for download at iBooks and Kindle. I have a few books that you can buy. And again, if you go to my website, tuesdaymaythomas.com, and sign up for your free book, The Higher Self, you will receive that and also be put on my monthly love letter list. Thank you so much, everyone. I truly love and appreciate this platform. Let's take a moment to call in our angels and our guides, to take a breath and say thank you for surrounding us, for supporting us, for enlightening us with a divine vision of light that fills our hearts, our third eyes, our tongue, our bodies, our cells. We thank you, we thank you, we thank you, all of our angels, our guides, those that have been alive, that we've known in this lifetime and that have passed on, that perhaps are acting as angels for us now, whether it be of a human being, a pet, perhaps an even deeper ancient ancestor that walks with you now. And all of us, we thank you, all of our animal totems. Thank you so much. And so it is. Isn't it just so powerful? All of the divine beings and entities that surround us and that really have our higher good in store. So today we're going to be touching on this aspect of non-duality. And it's very, very interesting because what happens is we understand here what I teach is that, again, the 3D is this binary system that we've been born into, that we are very accustomed to, this living life in a love versus fear sort of a fashion. And as we transcend, as we turn a corner or two or three, what we realize is that there's this place that exists within us and all around us where there no longer has to be a choice or to make decisions or to view things in a polarized way in this world through that loom, through that grittery, through that loom of light versus dark, of love versus fear. And you know, if you know me and you watch these videos, I'm a student of A Course in Miracles, and A Course in Miracles is really that study, is really that path that took me to that place where I realized, yes, of course, something I've always known within me, but the ability to practice it through their lessons and their texts and just really absorbing through the meditations and integrating the teachings because they resonate as truth, which is what we do, right? When something resonates, we hang out with it. We do that meditation over and over again. We kind of find more books about it, or we do the study, we do the process, and we allow it to process through us that which serves our highest good. And I know for me, it has just really helped me to come into that unity consciousness, that space of truly knowing that we are not separate, that we are one. And it is in that oneness that we then can tap the 0 point, that we then can go into the land of love and only love. Do you feel that you've experienced, glimpses? And it might even be when you've been in an altered state of consciousness, or in a flotation tank, or in a meditation, or maybe with your family or loved ones, at a wedding, at a funeral, at a christening, or something of the like, maybe a sacred ceremony, where you truly had that feeling where love and only love is and was the truth. Think about it for a moment. It is a very marked feeling that can have a physical beckoning, a physical awakening aspect in us, where you will get tingles. Your hair might stand up on your legs or on your arms. You'll get a feeling in your gut. You'll feel a sensation in your heart. You may feel all of these things, none of these things, but simply have that aha, that realization that indeed there is a place, right, that exists within us, that is non-dual, that is love and only love. And not to say that we're throwing the 3D away, throwing the baby out with the bathwater, not to say that at all. Yet there is this sense of honoring it, learning the rules, learning how to play that, quote, game of life, as Florence Scovel Shinn says. I love her. She is said to be a great teacher in ways to Louise Hay, who really had put the presence and the awareness in through the teachings of like the power of our word and what we preach over our lives, what we speak over our lives, and how that has a direct effect on our minds, our bodies, our emotions. And so here at 4D Trinity, and all the tarot cards, everything I share here at this channel, it is my intention that it serves your highest good, your spiritual growth and your sovereignty, your ability to be free of the past and really learn to come into the now. Learn that the now is safe. Learn that the now is somewhere that you can relax and be restored and be held. And ultimately, we do this by healing the past, collapsing those timelines. And really, we're not collapsing them. We're allowing love to do the work for us. But we do that, and that creates the correct conditions so that just naturally we have this divine connection to what lays beyond the loom of polarized duality, of this dual system in this world, right? In this world. And so it's interesting. Some of the things, I was just making some notes, and some of the things, I think someone's here. Blessings, Mina. Nice to see you. Good morning. Thank you for signing on. Yeah, if you're here, go ahead and drop a hello in the comment box. I would be so grateful. So it's interesting, this duality thing. And I remember, right, I grew up in Ireland, as some of you know, and they have this thing, and it's even in some old Irish movies that you'll see, where the mom, gives the child, the son, the plate of food, and the kid, leaves peas and some of his meat behind, or mashed potatoes, and he doesn't finish his plate. And the mom says, "Eat all your food. They're starving babies in Africa," and so it's like, again, that these are things that we are inbred in, that are just conditioned. It's a story that's conditioned into us. Eat all the food on your plate because there's other people starving. Let that sink in. What about this one that we've heard before? Oh, the God phone. Okay, we'll get back to that list. Let's check in. Hello? Hey, blessings, God. What's up? God's all high five. You're hilarious. Yes, God is the realization of oneness. I love that. God is love without fear or judgment. God's just reminding us of that. So what are we going to look at today, God? Yes, I totally have those notes. You want me to read them right now? Okay, God says, hi, everyone. Blessings and namaste. Well, thank you, dear God. We will. We'll get right into them. Okay, thank you. Namaste. Blessings. God calls. If you're new to this show, God calls every 4D Trinity. God gives a little phone call here to us at the show. So God wants me to show you. So this heaven on earth grid, this heaven on earth realization for me really, truly, powerfully started probably in 2012 and then really started sinking in 2013. And there's more than this, but you know, as an author and a writer, for me personally, most of my time is taken up just taking notes, getting downloads and like just making sure I write them down or record them, because later I'll come back and I'll put them together for some article or some book. So here's like a whole slew of, I don't know really if you can see this, but there's like a whole slew of heaven on earth books that I was given notes for, little notes for all of these books. And there's even more than this. And so the God phone is saying, hey, read those notes about, there's 2 heaven on earth mini books here that I was given notes to back in 2013. And the God phone wants us to read them to segue ourselves in. Now I do have a presentation for us to watch as well. Heaven on Earth, Path to Non-Duality, is about giving up old thinking, is about healing and forgiveness, versus there is nothing to fix, right? Meaning it is honoring those aspects within us that call to us to be healed, that call to us to be transformed and changed. If they're not knocking, right, if it's not broken, don't fix it, kind of a thing. Yet, if there's something that's ailing you and you keep falling into that pothole, you keep bumping into that situation or that pattern that is harmful, that is not serving your spiritual growth and your joy, your happiness and your health, then there's healing and forgiveness to do to move out of that dual aspect of living in the dark and the light and not really being free. Path of non-duality. Again, there's this aspect of the world is perfectly imperfect, right? There's this aspect where we drop judgment and we stop seeing this is good and this is bad. And it's a big one. But today we're just doing part 1. We're just dropping some information here and you will take what truly serves you. There's the yin yang, the balance of duality. There's the right and the wrong, right? With the love and the fear. There's the binary system. And there's this aspect of, with non-duality, of moving beyond reason. So often in the 3D, in the world, things have to make sense logically. And as we move, though, from that 3rd chakra into the heart and we start exploring that 4D consciousness, that love and only love, that faith, that miracle thinking, which is a lot of what our this week's tarot forecast was about. It's one thing to be a magician and make magic, and it's another thing. It's another thing to be an ascended magician and create the correct conditions whereby miracles occur on a daily basis. Through you, to you, for you, and for all in your presence. And they're 2 very different planes of being. So, but we are moving beyond reason when it comes to this path of non-duality. And then there's a second one. So we go beyond, like, it has to make sense in order for it to make sense, right? There has to be some reason. There has to be something in a 3D concrete way, or else I don't believe in it, you know? So there's that thing of seeing is believing. Like, I'll believe it when I see it. And when we get into non-duality, where we're moving to is seeing is believing. Your ability to perceive, to see in your heart, in your third eye, that which you know is true, that which is beyond the veils of duality thinking, beyond the veils of the gridery of dual stories from our ancestors, our families, our traditions, our religions. And now granted, some of those stories from our cultures and stuff are powerful and potent and full of juicy medicine that serve our growth and our well-being. Yet up to us individually as to what is truly serving you as you grow, what is truly serving you as you ascend and enlighten, and what no longer does, and that which you can leave behind and bless. Path of non-duality is about raising your energy, raising your vibration, raising your frequency. Path of non-duality, we begin to understand that what you see is what you get. If you, as you ascend and as you become enlightened, you're quickening your karmic circuit. And so what you begin to understand is the power of the tongue, of your word, the power of what you decide to see, because remember, your environment is alive and responds to your perception of it. And when we move into that quantum realm, everything is energy. And so whatever I decide, if I decide to see that man as someone who's going to hurt me and treat me in an inappropriate way, then I am creating the correct conditions for that to happen in my reality. It may not happen for you or for that girl or that woman, but for me, if that's what I'm projecting, I'm creating the conditions for that to happen. Now, equally, if I'm like peace and love and just that's it and don't add any other stuff, that very possibly is related to my past and my fear, and so I'm just rerunning a projection, a perception. Again, those time lapse, I love that. Those timelines are collapsed, and so I am free and this individual is free, and we may not even, that may be all that needed to happen, and then we go in different realms. What you see is what you get. Instant karma, instant manifestation, instant magic, you see. As we shorten the circuit and we heal our lives, we heal ourselves, we become enlightened, there's less and less time and space between what we say, what we think, and that manifesting in this 3D reality. And so we become mindful of how much consistent duality we create as we move forward. Everything is you, right? This is another thing where we begin to become aware in this realm of unity consciousness that, as Marianne Williamson says, even though you're way through the telly here, you're way across the world maybe, and I'm way over here, it's only in this dimension that it seems that there's a separation, yet actually we are part of a greater whole. We are part of one. Everything is you. I am that I am. And then we move into this realm of trinary, which you know that we call here, that's 4D consciousness. It's the consciousness that resides in the love and only love, where there's nothing to fear. Because there's love and only love being woven in that loom of consciousness that we are co-creating together here. And then there's the law of allowance, right, with non-duality, where we just allow, non-judgment, we go with the flow, we simply observe life and what's going on around us, and we participate accordingly as divinely guided by our higher self, not from a place of fear, not from a place of being triggered by those old stories or finishing your plate because there's starving babies in Africa. Or what about this one? All good things must come to an end. Duality, duality. How about this one? Nothing good lasts forever. Have you heard that before? And this one, you got to work hard to be happy, or you got to work hard to make it. Right? These are very, this is a lot of work. This is the drudgery in the 3D that is polarized. If you're unaware, right? It is dual. It is not just one clean line of allowing. And we're going to look at this in my presentation here shortly. And then this one, okay, this is one that's going around on social media that amuses me. And it speaks to this tone of like, if you're not a part of fixing the world, you're a part of the problem. Really, you know, I just think that's so interesting because it's, we're all allowed to have our own divine expression, you know, of what is our truth. Yet again, because the premise of this sharing today, of these teachings today, is non-duality, we're just peeking in. We're just taking a look. I'm not telling you that I'm right and that you're wrong or they're wrong or anything like that. I'm simply imparting that which has become a new level of awareness for me. And here at 4D Trinity, every time I get a new level of awareness, this is what it's about. It's about sharing with the community that we may just be able to together collectively see things in a new light and perhaps turn a corner to a degree. So again, that's very interesting to me, because there's an assumption of judging, because it's almost looking at people and saying like that I know what it takes to fix the world, and I see you're not doing that, and it's because you're not doing what I think it takes to fix the world, I'm judging you and you're a part of the problem. And so this is duality. This perpetuates the matrix. This perpetuates the love versus fear versus just the peace. And Mina, I know you wrote something. I'm going to get to that in just one sec, love. Oh yeah, and then there's this whole thing, and I don't really know of an exact quote, but just since I've been alive, you know, there's this thing that you hear like, say your prayers or you'll go to hell, you know, or that there's some thing waiting for us if we're not a good boy, if we're not a good girl, that we're gonna, you know, go to hell. We'll be doomed, we'll be judged, we'll be all of these things. So, and interesting, so there's this duality and non-duality arc that I'm aware of. And again, we're going to go into that at a later date, where we become awakened, we become aware through our meditations, our healing, and we start to really become empowered, where we're like, yeah, and we see the dark and the light. And we might be in agreement, and we're going to go into some social media stuff here shortly. We might be in agreement with these posts and such that speak to the juxtaposition of the light versus the dark. And even I made a note last night on my hand, if you can see it. I was half asleep. And my muses said, get the pen right on your hand. So, you know, as you know, I have this tattoo. And the very first part of it that I got was this middle band before I had the heart above and the band below. And there's a spiral in there. And a dude, I got it done when I was 21 years old in Dublin, Ireland. And the guy who had created it, I was saying, well, what's the symbology? And he's like, oh, well, this is ancient Celtic tribal, and the spiral represents protection. And I was all about protection back in the day. And I know there's some 4DTs where we went into that. I think it was the crystals 4DT many months ago. And I was like, oh yeah, put it on there, protection. We need protection. And it was all about like every crystal and every bracelet and every incense that we, you know, this was like our thing. I don't know, this was in the 90s. You know, the collective that I was with, the spiritual collective, was like, oh yeah, protection, protection, right? And then we get to this point where you drop protection, right? But that's really powerful. And that's total non-duality and letting go of everything you think you know, dropping control and surrendering into that 4D consciousness, into that Christ consciousness. I'm going to read my hand, but just a moment. How to stop doubting yourself when facing fears and practicing self-love. Keep going. You just have to keep going. What's happening is you are working on strengthening your spiritual will. Your spiritual will is that, Mina, that is a muscle. Every time you choose love over fear, you're strengthening your spiritual will. Every time you erase it, remember our tool, every time you have that thought in your mind that says, no, you can't, and da-da-da, and you'll never, blah, 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 and doubt and all that stuff, and energetically, mentally, you can erase it in your mind, in your heart, and on a chalkboard, or in your mind, or wherever you see it, and place the frequency of love, or draw the word love, or just send love to recalibrate those energies, because you are connected in that way synaptically through your nervous system where that doubt comes in. But remember, that doubt is rooted in fear, and the tar body, the shadow part of ourselves, loves doubting you. It loves you being affected and reacting to the way it pokes and triggers you. It's not really you. It's not really you. The part that's really you is the part that loves you, is the part that lifts you up. And that's what we want to feed. My hashtag, feed the light body, starve the tar body. I actually have an article. If any of you here are interested, Mina, if you're interested, I have an article that was published years ago called Feed the Light Body, Starve the Tar Body, right? Where we get to practice that spiritual willpower. And eventually then you turn the corner, and it's not like such a whew, this is hard. You know, it's like exercise. You're building up that musculature, and you're kind of staving off that tar body that's had its way. Tar body gets very strong and very used to running the show through its negative ticker tape of like just destruction, death, and doom, and doubt, and all this polarized duality stuff. And we get used to thinking that's the truth. Just like if I don't finish all my food, there's starving people in Africa, and I'm going to be guilty. And just like if I don't do my prayers, I'm going to go to hell. And just like, oh my God, if I don't work hard, I'm never going to make it. And nothing good lasts forever. So you know, oh my God, scarcity, lack mentality. That's all 3D. That's all duality, right? And we're moving into like letting all that go, trusting, and being at first, sometimes that warrior, with really putting your foot down in the face of the tar body and saying, no, I place love here. That self-doubt, that fear, that negative, pattern that keeps wanting to loop in my mind, I'm going to erase that and I'm going to put love there. Even if I have to do that 1,000 times today, I'm remapping my chemistry, I'm remapping my nervous system, and then I'm also remapping the way I connect through the grid system of collective consciousness so that I stop plugging into those fears and I start rewiring where I'm plugging into, which is love, and so that is. It's very powerful, Mina. I recommend it, but it takes discipline. But that spiritual will serve you in all dimensions. Every time we practice self-mastery, self-love, anything that's going to strengthen our spiritual will of choosing love over fear over and over and over again on repeat. As we do that, right, we strengthen that third chakra. And as that third chakra becomes strengthened, the bridge that moves from your third chakra to your heart is called the trust bridge. And the trust is where the miracles happen. The trust is where the magic, the ascended magic happens. The trust is where faith begins. And we step out of the way and we allow a higher order to meet us there, and we trust love, we trust, and we let go to that. So I pray that serves you. So let me just get back to this hand, because what I wrote last night is Choku-rei, protection, duality until healed, 3D to 4D. So with the spiral on the tattoo, even when I learned Reiki, my teacher didn't tell me that the Choku-rei meant protection. I never knew that until years later. I've been a Reiki teacher since 2001, and I never knew that it had anything to do with protection. I still started to get into other circles and sit with other teachers and stuff, and I thought, isn't this interesting? There's such a big grid of the Choku-rei, the spiral that is related to level 1, having a significance with protection. And I understand, because again, like I said, back in the day, it was all protection, protection, protection. We were opening ourselves up and we needed protection. We didn't know how to ground or to align, and so we call them the protection, and it's not wrong. If that is your truth, that is resonant. And so it is. Yet what I'm here to share is that there is a corner that you turn as you heal the tar body, as you heal those pains of the past, as those timelines drop. You no longer walk with all that stuff. You don't need the protection. And the more you move into that love and that faith and that trust, and you let go to God, to love and only love, then you recognize a higher power is working through you. You step out of the way, and that higher power does everything through you. If you're watching the tarot readings, dear God, Buddha, the goddess, whatever name, the sun, whatever is your source of love and of light, whatever name you give it, use me. Where would you have me go? What would you have me do? What would you have me say, and to whom? Use my tongue, use my eyes, use my vision, use my body, use my hands, that I may be of service in my life and in the lives of others. You see, and so we move out of the way, and then life becomes very, very mystical. It's a process. It's a process. So to the point, though, we're going to get on with our presentation today. We're going to move into presentation land. So it's been a minute since I've done this. Let me go ahead and here we go. So let's see. We're going to do screen share. Boop, boop. Here we go. And I thought this was interesting also. I thought this was really, really, really interesting. This whole aspect of, I'm going to make sure that I can see you here though. Let me get my screens set up. This whole aspect of 4D Trinity live stream 10/18/18, which I believe is the correct date today. Yes. So 10, right? If we look at the numerology, 18 is 9, 8 plus 1 is 9, and then 18, 8 plus 1 is 9, 9 plus 9 is 18. Again, 8 plus 1 is 9, plus 1 is 10. Very interesting, which again leads us to we become one. Once we have entered that realm of oneness, what happens is we recognize the opening, the gateway that begins to open for the 0 point, for the love and only love. Okay, so here we go. We're going to read through some of these. You know me, I go online and I just Google and I'm like, okay, what does the collective say about duality? What is the definition? Some very interesting stuff here. Duality, the quality or condition of being dual, the property of two theorems, expressions being dual to each other. And this is interesting, the quantum mechanical property of being regardable as both a wave and a particle. Quantum mechanical property of being regardable as both a wave and a particle. And then an instance of opposition or contrast between two concepts and two aspects of something, a dualism. So there's a lot of information here. And let's just look at, so the first one, the quality or condition of being dual, and then the last one, an instance of opposition or contrast between two concepts or two aspects of something, a dualism. And then we look here, the definition of duality, two seeming opposite things existing at the same time and usually in the same place, same space. Examples of duality in a sentence. The duality of the weather in the United States always baffled people because on one side of the country it is usually snowing and on the other it's almost 100 degrees, right? So these are just little examples. She loved the poetic duality of night and day, specifically how on one side of the world it was sunny and at the same time the moon is high on the other. The wonderful duality of human nature allowed people to feel conflicting emotions at the same time. The duality of the yin-yang symbol has fascinated people for years because it explores how two opposite things like light and dark can exist side by side. So where we're going with this is understanding how this dark and light operates within us, how it is so embedded into our unconscious subconscious that in so many ways we perpetuate these grids. We keep plugging into them, you know, by agreeing that all good things must come to an end, that nothing good lasts forever. You got to work hard to be happy or to make money. If you're not a part of fixing the problem, then you're a part of, you know, you're a part of the problem. Or if you don't say your prayers, you're going to hell. You know, it's like duality, duality, duality. It just keeps weaving itself. And again, we're almost sleepy in our unawareness until we begin to awaken. And that's what this show is here to just bring some new awakening to these aspects. And so here we have the light body and the tar body, right? Again, feed the light body. This is your light body, right? And this is just a random picture. Honestly, I'm sorry. I don't know who to credit. I just looked it up on Google, just dragged it off. Light body on the left, tar body on the right. So there's these aspects within us, but you know, at any moment, depending on the creation, or pardon me, depending on the conditions you're creating with yourself, with stress, with your diet, with your thoughts, with your environments, with your addictions, with whatever it is, you're either feeding the tar body, which is going to get stronger and louder and start to navigate and drive your mind and drive your life for you, or you're going to feed the light body, which is intimately connected to your higher self, to love, to God, to source. And both of them are two very different breadcrumb trails, yet at the same time, they are always within us in this 3D realm. And the idea is feeding the light body to such a degree that that tipping point shifts, where the light body is illuminated, plugged in brightly to source, directly connecting you to your GPS of your inner voice of your higher self, where there is no doubt. You start not just learning about it, but you start living it. And that is the practice. That's the practice of you intuiting what is your truth, of trusting it, of lighting up that pilot light in your heart, of moving from the 3D, of moving away from duality in the third chakra and the first lower couple chakras, and starting to integrate a new way of seeing things that is love and only love. So here we go. At the top in red here, I wrote Jiminy Cricket. Remember him from Pinocchio, the movie Pinocchio, when I was a little girl. And he used to sing a song, or he does sing a song, always let your conscience be your guide. What is your conscience? I love this. An inner feeling or voice viewed as acting as a guide to the rightness or wrongness of one's behavior. Jiminy Cricket was constantly telling Pinocchio, like, hey, Pinocchio, this is a good idea. This idea ain't so good. And Pinocchio was he didn't know. And he's like, well, I'm just going to try all of it, and gets into his adventures and such. Yet your conscience is directly connected to your light body, which is directly, again, connected to source, right? It's the inner feeling or voice, and we all have it. If you don't feel you have it, pause. Next time you're in a situation, pause and listen. Listen to what is there. So then from all of this duality stuff that I was looking up, and this non-duality stuff, I'm like, well, what's the opposite? Is there an opposite? Because there's non-duality, duality, and then just for fun, I was like, let's just look up the singularity aspect. So we're just going off track here for a moment, yet it's connected. The state, fact, quality, or condition of being singular. A peculiarity or odd trait. And then down below, physics and mathematics, a point at which a function takes an infinite value, especially in space-time when matter is infinitely dense as at the center of a black hole. Now, when I saw this, I was like, oh, thank you, higher self, because higher self made me look up singularity and put it in this. But I had no idea it was going to get like all quantum down here, which I think is so awesome. Because again, it's a point, singularity, a point at which a function takes an infinite value. So that's that tipping point where you have garnered enough trust, enough discipline, enough faith, enough letting go of control and trusting a higher power, that tipping point shifts to that infinite value where you are channeling love and light, love and only love. God, you have stepped out of the way and you're saying, use me to the degree that you are in agreement with, right? At that point, a point at which a function takes an infinite value, especially in space-time. You know what I teach here, space and time are derivatives of your mind and your mouth. The space that you personally experience is governed by the thoughts that you hold in your mind, that you have on repeat in your mind. The time, your experience of time is specific to the words that you speak from your tongue. Your tongue governs your sense of time, how you experience this time in this dimension, and your mind orients the space in which you experience time. So at a point at which a function takes an infinite value, shift, tipping point shifts, love and only love, especially in space-time, when matter is infinitely dense. So we know this, we've talked about this, we'll repeat it, the grid that I teach about, the grid matrix of collective consciousness. That is gravity. That is woven. This 3D grid, the matrix, as we've known it, as we've been indoctrinated, I believe that's the correct word. It's all based on duality. And it is dense. It is gravity. It binds us. The more we believe in all that stuff that is dual driven, the more dense we become by being connected to those thought forms, to those grids, to those emotions, to those feelings, as at the center of a black hole, right? It can be like a tunnel vision. You can't get out. You're on the hamster wheel. The world sucks. We're all going to die. Sorry for laughing about that. But it becomes laughable at a certain point once you've turned a corner and you realize that you're not mortal and that you don't die and death is a big lie. Okay, I'm going to keep going here. Conscience. Always let your conscience be your guide. Wait, we already did this one. Okay, somehow it's coming back around. An inner feeling or voice viewed as acting as a guide to the rightness or wrongness of one's behavior. So we all have this. Now, let's get into this non-dualism. In spirituality, non-dualism, also called non-duality, means not two, or one undivided without a second. Non-dualism primarily refers to a mature state of consciousness in which the dichotomy of I, other, excuse me, is transcended. And awareness is described as centerless and without dichotomies. You know, I was hanging with the master apprentice that I work with. And it was funny, we were having a conversation and I responded, and I can't remember exactly what we were saying, but I responded by saying, well, it doesn't matter because I don't even exist. You know, and when you just start to try on speaking in that way, you start to it's like those Star Trek, those beam me up. I forget what those are on the holodeck. You know, saying it, Kate Bush, quote, even saying it can even make it happen. Like, and that's what we're doing. We're training ourselves to move into the realm of an expanded consciousness, of a non-dual nature, where when whoever your name is and your story and your life, we talk about this with timelines and point of creation. When you've shifted and healed, 50% of that stuff, enough of that stuff that your energy can shift more towards your light body than your tar body. There's less of you there. There's less of all those stories. When you've really forgiven and really forgotten, yes, you can forget, and you will not be left without the enlightenment and the awareness that you've garnered, even if you forget. But that's when you start to disappear, and so the importance of the I disappears with it. And this is a cool website, Science and Non-Duality. I got this one from. Non-duality is the philosophical, spiritual, and scientific understanding of non-separation and fundamental intrinsic oneness. So that's what I was sharing with the aspect of what I get out of A Course in Miracles, is that indeed we are all one. And to really, really get that is one thing. And then to really live as if that's the truth is a whole other one. And that is so, so very powerful. I'll read on. For thousands of years, through deep inner inquiry, philosophers and sages have come to the realization that there is only one substance, and we are therefore all part of it. This substance can be called awareness, consciousness, spirit, Advaita, Brahma, Tao, Nirvana, or even God. It is constant, ever-present, unchangeable, and is the essence of all existence. So indeed, there's this aspect that's saying, like, look, no matter how much duality you're absorbed in or connected to or brainwashed or conditioned into just the habituation and the patterning of thinking, speaking, and living and experiencing that way, there is another way. And it is through your practices. It is through the healing of your life, of knowing thyself, of laying down your shields, of being a master of your word, of your tongue, of being a master of your mind and where you allow your mind to go. And now, granted, this all might be very new. And as that awakening and as your realization, your self-realization, your enlightenment begins to happen, this is where the invitation is, where you begin to master up. You realize you no longer want to be a victim of your own mind. You no longer will be a victim of those old past memories, of those old patterns, of your addiction, of your, patterns with sex, of your addiction to drugs or to people or to stealing or to lying or whatever it might be, right? And we start to learn, okay, let me move from this plane of duality into just placing love, into just healing and having that experience of what that might be. So if you follow me on Instagram, again, my links are all down in the show more box, the description box. And again, if you want a copy of my article, I will send you a PDF. It's called Feed the Light Body, Starve the Tar Body. My email is down in the show more box below. Just send me a little email and say, send me the article and I will send it to you. Very, very happy to do so. Graffiti. I call this graffiti, and I lovingly, because I'm not judging. I'm here to share information from a corner that I've turned, that I'm beginning to see things in a new light, and I'm just here to share that with you. Not to make fun, not to judge, but to just illumine, right? So if you follow me on Instagram, sometimes I graffiti, I call it, other people's posts, where I take a post that is very enlightened, and I am guided then to allow it to transform from being duality based, in my perception, to non-dual based. So for instance, the original post, so I reposted this with the red lines through those words you see there. And so the original post is intuition makes sense after you follow it, not before. So again, that's that duality, that's that juxtaposition of like, why does it have to make sense after you follow it and not before? Who's deciding that? What belief does that come from? Why does that have to be true? Does that have to be true to me? No. Okay. Then down below, you don't get to know the beauty unless you take the risk. Again, why is there scarcity? Why don't I get to know the beauty? Why can't I just know the beauty, right? Unless you take the risk. Okay. So again, these juxtapositions. So, you know, in a light way, I'm like, okay, you know what feels really, really, really powerful? Because there's like these double negatives in there that just, it's enlightened, yet it can be lighter. It can be lightened even more. And so we cross out those sentences and we are left with intuition. Follow it. Know the beauty. Take the risk, which has a very different frequency, you see, than all that other jargon that goes in that post. Again, I'm just here to show you what I'm getting. And here's another one I did some graffiti on. So all the red is where I've lined things out. So this is, you know, and this has to do with, again, our time and our space, right? Financially, I'm going to win. That's in the future. The future doesn't exist. Career-wise, I'm going to win, you know, and then down below, family-wise, it says, I'm going to win. I crossed it out and I'm like, with love, I'm going to win. We win. In my life, I'm going to win. You know, I'm claiming it all. It's like, let's consider the way the words come out of our mouths, but also what you click and like on social media. Are we just going along in a conditioned fashion and just liking things and agreeing with them? And so continuing that perpetuation of that consciousness for ourselves of duality or of limiting ways of being and seeing. And let's pause perhaps and just really see what we are in agreement with, and perhaps without judging others, but allowing ourselves to perhaps see things in a different way. And if it feels good seeing it in a non-dual way, then you're onto something. So again, I crossed all these out so that now it reads, financially, I win. Career-wise, I win. Mentally, I win. Emotionally, I win. Physically, I win. Family-wise, we win. We're not going to win, we win. With love, we win. In my life, I'm winning, not I'm going to win. The now moment is where it's all at. Okay, and then claim it all. I claim it all. And then instead of type, I'm not one of these that that does the type, you know, type if you agree thing. So I invite whoever was interested in reading this post, this as I call them, refurbished repost, that I will from time to time do a little graffiti and repost. Say, right? So the invitation is to say, I'm ready to claim it. Now, we're going to get into some stuff here. I know it's Alan Watts. I don't really know if this is what he said. And I know it's Alan Watts, and he's a great master, and I love him. I really love everything that he teaches. But I just did think that this was interesting. Duality. There is a price to be paid for every increase in consciousness. Again, that's like if you don't pray, you're going to hell. We cannot be more sensitive to pleasure without being more sensitive to pain. I don't agree. Even though if it is really Alan Watts, I don't agree. I have had a different experience, and that's just all that I'm here to share with you, is that there's even more. There's beyond the binary. There's the trinary. There's the 0 point. There's the love and only love. This is an arc. This is a place that we first get to, are these kinds of beliefs. This is the level 1 of like, once we start getting conscious and enlightened, we're like, oh, okay, yes, man, I've had to like, you know, face my shadow, and I've had to like, I got into a car accident and that totally fucked me up, but then it helped me heal. So there's a price to be paid because now I'm more conscious, and, you know, I wouldn't change a thing, and that's cool, right? It's all a part of the story. And then we cannot be more sensitive to pleasure without being more sensitive to pain. I don't even know where that mumbo jumbo comes from. To me, it seems completely irrelevant to living a sovereign life. It brings chains of guilt. It talks of pain. And where there's this juxtaposition of you're only going to experience as much pleasure as you've experienced pain. And I'm just in non-agreement with that. So I love you, Alan Watts, and I bless you. I really don't even know if these are truly your words, though, because, you know, online, who knows what's putting whose face with what quote and what words. But again, I'm just pointing out that these things are there. They're everywhere. We're going to move on. If you could erase all the mistakes of your past, you would also erase all of the wisdom of your present. I don't agree. I know this for a fact from my own experience in life. This does not have to be the case. If you think it's the case and you decide that's the case, then it will be. But I'm here to tell you that you don't have to have that experience. Remember the lesson, not the disappointment. What I would do if I was going to graffiti and refurbish, repost this, is I would just cross out the first two, that one big long sentence, and I would just leave, remember the lesson, not the disappointment. If you could erase all your mistakes of the past, which is work that we've done here, right? We did a massive healing PTSD. We did some serious energy work a couple weeks ago. We've done all sorts of stuff. Yes, you can erase your mistakes. And no, you don't have, it doesn't mean you have to erase the wisdom that come from them. So again, there's all of these ideas, and even in very enlightened circles, even in very spiritual woo-woo realms and people that you follow online or your friends, that I think, you know, and I'm mindful not, I'm not judging. I'm just like, the light has turned on for me. And when even if it's someone that I really love, and actually this post is from someone that I really adore and love, but I couldn't hit the little double tap. I'm an Instagram and a YouTube person. I don't do Facebook or Twitter. But I couldn't do the double tap, nor for the Alan Watts, even though they're both posts from people that I love, because it's not in agreement with me. So I pray that you're getting this. I pray that this is, I mean, it is whatever it is for you. Whatever it's going to be for you, it's going to be. But again, my intention is just to simply illumine just this unconscious level of duality that is still existing in the spiritual realms. And this one is very powerful. Your growth scares people who don't want to change. What's this about? This is very interesting, because this is putting, your growth scares people. Your growth scares people. I mean, what is that belief? What is that? Is that ego? Is that I'm better than you? Is that, I mean, that's very polarized. That's very duality driven. For that belief to be your growth scares people. What the heck is that about? Especially people who don't want to change, that's judging. How do we know what people want to or don't want to change about themselves or their lives? How do we know what they're going through? It's all very, very dual driven here. And what I was going to do, this is one I might graffiti repost later down the line. I think this one I wanted to keep your growth, and I wanted to X out the S. I think I wanted to do, or our growth, or your growth, one of those, cares. And I'm going to write in 4 people. Oh gosh, now I can't remember which. Anyway, but this is one that kind of made me laugh and pause and be like, oh shit, look at this. This is so interesting, because there's so much polarity here. There's so much duality. So again, what are we agreeing to? What are we just swiping and liking and like repeating on autopilot that really isn't freeing us, that's keeping us in the matrix, in the loop of 3D? So I'll get back to that. Who knows? That might be a repost, maybe not. Life doesn't allow for us to go back and fix what we have done wrong in the past. Well, again, I would love to invite you, Spirit Science, I would love to hang out with you and talk about that, because my experience is absolutely, we have every right, and we do, and we can go back in the past and heal it and forgive and erase and collapse those timelines. You know, yet this does say, but it does allow for us to live each day better than our last. So I would leave life, I would cross out all those lines so that it would read, life allows for us to live each day better than our last. Here's another one. She builds others up because she knows what it's like to be torn down. Again, I love this person who posted this, yet I'm not in agreement, because I've had an experience otherwise. That, again, this is duality. Why Why does she want to build others up? Because she knows what it's like to be torn down. Well, is that really sincerely building someone up for them and to be of service to them in the highest light? Or is it more about their pain of their past and because they know what it's like to be torn down? And that's the only reason why they're building others up. Do you know what I mean? Do you get it? I think you do. So again, I'm not ripping these people apart. I'm just moving these words around. I'm just allowing you, your inner wordsmith, to become aware of how duality is everywhere in this 3D, and it is up to us, if we should choose, to just begin to allow ourselves to be guided to see things differently, a little or a lot, to see through the veils of all of these stories that are everywhere. We're all on social media, we're all on our phones, we're all on our computers, always. It's everywhere. This is interesting, right? Ascension Radio. I love this dude, this person. I would love to be on their radio show, Blessings Ascension Radio. So this is very interesting, right? Because then this person comes along and is saying, this I love, because they're giving us opportunity. Instead of saying good morning, because there's this sense of that mourning is, that we're mourning like there's a death, and that there's some deep etymological, essence of that we don't have to say good morning or hell, that we can say instead grand rising, if that resonates with you. I like good day. I like saying good day myself. And then wake up, right? Now, this is a big thing on social media as well, is that, again, that if you're not helping, then you're hurting, then you're a part of the problem. And where some people are having posts that are like telling everyone like, wake the F up, wake up, like all in capital letters. And again, that's just judgment, right? And it's not trusting that there's a divine perfection in all of everything. And those that are ready to wake and to rise are and will in their own way. It's not up to me to decide how that has to look or be for them. If they come to me for assistance, then I can be of service. But other than that, it has nothing to do with me, other than me just being love and light and seeing love and light in them. So here, Ascension Radio is offering, instead of saying wake up, rise up, which is a very different frequency. Instead of sleep, rest. Instead of friend, brother, sister. Instead of can't, can. Prayer is affirmation. That's funny that's here, because we often talk about that when we speak about prayer, that they are affirmations. I'm dead, instead of saying I'm dead or that kills me, right? Just to say like, that's funny, dude. God, right? If God gives you a knee-jerk reaction, I never said the word God up until I started studying A Course in Miracles 4 or 5 years ago. I never, ever used that word. And then once I realized that God really just means love and only love, now I say it and I'm not afraid. Yet here, Ascension Radio is saying that you can think about God, if you want to speak about it, but God isn't really your word, you can say divine creator or source. And they continue to say it's all about the little things, right? And that's what we're saying here with all of this, we're surrounded by this duality. And how do we speak in those ways over our lives, just unconsciously, and beginning to be aware of that? And so Ascension Radio goes on to say, etymology will help you learn how to spell, right? Meaning that the words that you speak, the tip of your tongue, you're co-creating your reality. You're commanding the atoms, the molecules, everything, the DNA in your body and the energy, the atoms, the molecules that surround you. You're putting a spell through your time and space, through your mind and your tongue. And what this post is sharing is that learning about etymology, learning about words and the power of them, right, will help you learn how to spell, how to speak without cursing yourself. Very powerful. Start putting the pieces together. I really love that. And again, what is it about? This is another post that I think is so cute. From Healing with Tess, a dear sister of mine. Non-judgment day is coming, right? And that's what and really it's non-judgment, dimension beyond just one day, but one day is awesome, but it's that perpetuation of non-judgment that is here and that is coming in greater and greater waves. So again, if you are on Instagram or you want to follow me, that's my handle is at TuesdayMayThomas.com. And remember, all we're doing is we're collapsing these timelines of polarities, of dualities that bind us to yesterday, that bind us to tomorrow, that we can rest and relax in the now moment. And I love ending on this. Gandhi, right? Speak only if it improves upon the silence. Speak only if it improves upon the silence. Isn't that so cool? I love it. I love it. So everyone, it's a short one today, and I'm so grateful for your presence. I'm so grateful. Thank you for hopping on, Mina. And I know Will said, oh, there's a few more comments. Let's see, I was off in the presentation land. Okay, blessings, Mina. You're very welcome. How will you define balance and spirituality? Know it has connection with discipline. Still wanted to ask. Namaste. Coca-Cola Nation. Okay, namaste. You know what, Mina? I do have to wrap up today, but I thank you for that question. And I'm probably going to use that for next week's 4D Trinity, if you don't mind. And then we can go into it much deeper. I do have to wrap up, though, here today. So I will remember that, and I will come back to that, and we'll make some notes, and we'll go through that for next week's 4D Trinity. Everyone, I'm so grateful. I'm so thankful for this community. I love and appreciate every single one of you. Thank you, new subscribers. If you feel that this information is resonant in any way, give me the thumbs up, share, repost, whatever serves your highest good. May it all serve your highest good. And again, sign up at my website. The link is below. You will receive my monthly love letter, which I have not sent out October's yet. I'm working on that. And you will also receive a copy of my mini ebook, The Higher Self Blueprint of Mastery. I have other books. I do tarot readings. And again, if you would like a copy of a PDF copy of my article, Feed the Light Body, Starve the Tar Body. It was published years ago in the Sedona Journal of Emergence, but I would be happy to send you a copy of that. Email me. My email is down in the description box. So thank you so much. There's a few more comments. Oh, blessings, April. So good to see you. Thank you for joining. All right, my friends, much love and much light. Namaste. Blessings, 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 blessings. Thank you so much.